There are many walls. There are so many beautiful empty walls I see. Even like anyone who would want to start, just start. When you were a kid, you used to draw on walls. So probably it's the same thing. So let's just enjoy it. So I thought like, okay, theek hai, cool. I'll do it just for the love for a wall. I feel like I'm a dog. Wherever I go, I see an empty wall. I'm like, ah.
Street art is not defined by a white room or by the lighting or by the condition of a white cube. It's like a chameleon. It could take the color of anything around it and you might not even notice it. As each thing comes up, there will be dialogue with the people who are around the most, more than people who pass by. They're more enamored by the presence of an artist than they are by the subject. Street art is out in the commons, on the footpath, on the walls of the public buildings, private buildings. Could be anywhere, could be anything.
I'm Anu from Bangalore. I study in Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology. I worked with the artist Harshvardhan Kadam in Church Street outside the metro station. The point of that was to have something fun and colorful and playful. People on that street are always busy. They don't stop and give attention to anything. They're always like busy about either their work or going places. So that piece is created for people to just stop and look for a while. That's why it's so large.
Again, like street art is for the public. So again, gallery art, elite, like maybe you think of a specific audience that you want to target when you're doing stuff like that, or a specific medium or something like that. But street art, since it's supposed to be meant for everybody, it's not a specific audience that you're targeting. You can't stop anybody from seeing something.
Some works that have been outright in the face of the government, and at the same time we're working with the government. So it's not vandalism anymore.
My name's Dia Pinto, and one of the pieces I've done, it's a collaboration with another artist named Sri Vyas. And what we've done is we've taken a statue from one of our historical sites and we've just turned it into something slightly more modern. And he wanted to treat it as someone from this era. I've drawn a cloth across the bosom of the goddess. You should not be offended that I, as a woman, have covered it up. The main reason I drew that was because in areas like this, which are more like conservative, if you must say, I can't show my shoulders. I can't wear something that's too short. And it's like the ideology that I'm that kind of person if I wear something like that. So I said, if there's an idol in the middle of almost the heart of our city, and it's almost a satire, it's irony that I've put up. When I first chalked it out, I'm standing on my ladder and there were about 5 men around just standing and watching me and like having a good giggle. So it sort of irked the people around me, but it wasn't very controversial.
I feel that in street art you have this freedom. You have this freedom to do anything that you want to show to public. The basic thing is that I can have viewers from million to one. In open space there are a lot of people, there are a lot of eyes that you can send your message to the world.
So the people around automatically start to become more friendly. They started giving us rooms to keep our paints. I think when you're alien to the space, they like try to ignore you, or like they don't pay much attention to you. But yeah, as you start to interact with them, they become much more friendlier and more accepting.
So Vyas, one of our group members, he painted a palace onto one of the residential area, and basically he was trying to juxtapose how the slums are there and there's a palace beneath and there's no relation to it whatsoever. These people have a very significant role in whatever is done on this site. We can't just dismiss them as people who are just there for the sake of being there. they have a very strong emotional attachment to the place. And a Purna Karmika worker, so she makes a rangoli pattern on the walls, and next day her husband comes up and tells her that no, you can't make that, and she whitewashes the whole thing, and next day it's just not there. They probably have a certain respect for the other artworks that are existing there, and they feel that what they're projecting onto the walls isn't significant at all. We're trying to get away from the ideology that we're a collective which is just there for the sake of, making, like earning a name or just creating art that's very personal to them and it's just projected onto the walls. No, it's about getting people together, engaging with the suburbs, the local suburbs over here, getting in touch with them. And even though like I hail from a place like Chandigarh, they don't feel alienated, and they don't receive a cultural shock out of what I'm making and it's just completely alien to them. No, they have a certain kind of relation to whatever we're making.
There's no difference between someone who's poor and appreciating art versus someone who's rich and appreciating art. So last year I was painting with the Ugly Indians, and we were doing this place near the CMX Road Metro. And those places that they have the cobblers and stuff, they have those pop-up metal sheds. So we were painting, we cleared all the space around, we painted the wall behind them and stuff like that. And since that's like, I think, government property, it's not owned by the people, the metal sheds. So we were painting the sides and the tops and like a bright color so that people don't litter. And when the guy came back, like we were working quite early morning, so he came around 10 to open his shop, and he actually he wanted to help. So he's like, how can I help? And he started painting with us, and he's like, yeah, I want my shop to look good. And then the people opposite, there was some juice shop, they came and said, oh, you guys must be tired, you want juice, blah, blah, blah. So like at some level, everyone kind of wants it to be cleaned up, like their own space to be cleaned up and stuff like that. So I feel like even like doing those small things, even if it's not like a proper mural by an artist or something, it kind of like sensitizes people towards this kind of like art and things like that.
Even a single color, it'll obviously make it very beautiful. Like how Ugly Indians are doing, like with 3 colors and a pattern. It is still looking nice, and people are not hampering those places somewhere. Like it has, curved down a lot. कलर तो आना ही है, अच्छा लगना ही है, so क्यों ना उसको थोड़ा और अच्छा बनाया जाए.
We can keep subject secondary and make it look nice first. So as long as something looks neat and finished, I think everyone's happy with that.
So there's street art, but when they clear out places where they clean the garbage out, they kind of paint like geometric patterns. They paint the whole place like terracotta with like circles or triangles or stuff like that. And you see that all over Bangalore, and I feel like everyone's slowly getting sensitized because it's like an aesthetically pleasing something. So they don't dump garbage there, or I mean they're used to it.
I think Bangalore is not green anymore, so I think something about that has changed. Not just because of the art, but it's not. I just think it's not dull anymore, and there's always it brings out like the creativity of the city and what Bangalore actually is, and it's always nice to have an artistic city. I think it does help because now it's you would naturally not go throw. It wouldn't be a garbage dump where a place like this art is there. So, but that I think that's still a problem. I guess it hasn't. Street art hasn't completely resolved it, but that's like people's mentality. That street art can't change that completely.
क्या ही कर सकते हैं जब ये भी नहीं हो रहा है तो फिर अभी that's what like we humans are dogs. God bless us, man. Yeah, but what I think is like. Even if they don't, who cares? I want to paint on the wall, I'll do it. That's it. They want to pee on this thing, do it. I had my fun.
And each piece is connected to that particular area in some or the other way. So it can be either the history or the people who are there, or the kind of work that the people are doing there.
Most of the murals that came from start was very indigenous to that one place. Shiloh painted, she painted this mural with flowers, but she wanted to show the men who work at the flower market. So the murals kind of fit into the place that they're in.
I sat there, I sketched my site and even the surroundings, and then I usually try to observe, like, where would be the people coming from and which would be the first point that they'll see when they're like that far or this close, and how much is the light and shadow happening over here. So all those energies also you have to feel it. Thought like making it a little kiddish will be very good because it is Bal Bhavan.
So the piece that I worked on was in the Cubbon Park metro station, and I worked with Serbian artist Artes. We went on one walk to see and decide the color palette based on all the greens that we found in Cubbon Park. And for me as a Bangalorean, it was interesting because everyone knows Cubbon Park, but you don't really necessarily research about it or know its history and stuff, which is what I had to do before we started. And it was also interesting because it was like an outsider coming to Bangalore, and me being from here had to explain to him exactly the essence of Cubbon Park. And so we try to capture that by the pieces kind of leaves and the birds you find there, some animals like a monkey, and then it tried to capture basically leisure, people come there to relax or chill out and stuff like that.
If a piece comes up in a particular place, then the buildings around it, the shops around it, everything changes, or everything, either the prices of the surrounding areas go up because of that piece, or they utilize that piece in some other way for their own purpose. The street vendors and the sellers, they set up their stalls right outside that piece, so to grab attention. So it's positive. It's mostly all positive.
The whole purpose of having these murals were kind of to sensitize people towards street art, because everyone has this kind of there's graffiti, and there are people who spray paint for fun, and most people see it as something bad. Someone spray painted some nonsense, or I heart someone, or I love somebody, and all that kind of nonsense. I don't remember who it was. I think it was my mother. But when I told her oh, we're going to be painting this thing, and she's like, oh my God, that was such a nice place. Why are you all trying to ruin it by putting? Everyone has this negative notion about street art in general, and doing all these murals all across Bangalore was kind of to sensitize people to doing it.
Who owns the works? Who has authority on the work? And who has the right to do whatever they want with the work with the permission of the BBMP?
The fact that people are open to us painting on private property or public property, and the government is giving us permissions now to take up places and work on it. So I think people are more open-minded about street art these days.
I think Bangalore is one of the only cities in India, as far as I know, the only city where artists have been promoted to work in the public sphere. We are also trying to keep the government in conversation and keep them happy by putting blue and white stripes. That's the city code.
When I was talking to the artist that I worked with, Artes, he said even in Serbia, people aren't as open. There's just so many people here that they don't even question why you're doing something. They just assume that you have the permit and stuff like that. Whereas in other countries and places, you can't really get away with doing things like that.
Although we thought we are artists who could paint our world, who funds your art has the biggest say on what you do. We've seen resonance of this project go on to Bangalore, where a group of artists friends have taken up a similar project of occupying public space and painting murals.
It is changing gradually, what I feel. I would want to see some new artwork coming out, so I think people are waiting again. So it shouldn't be like that. Artists like us, designers, we are getting more motivated. At least we are getting affected. This is how it will, build the community.